Hello, it's Fred Dinage talking to you once again about crime and gangsters. Thank you so much indeed for joining me. This, in fact, will be the last of my crime talks because in future I want to talk about television, how you survive in television for nigh on 60 years, the adventures you have along the way, the people you meet, the things that go right, and of course the things that go wrong. And a very important question, how do you start in TV and radio? I can answer all of those in the coming weeks, so do join me if you can. But back to crime and gangsters, and talking this time about a guy called Frankie Fraser, a fascinating man known as Mad Frankie Fraser. Was he mad? Well, I'm not sure, but I suppose you could say he must have been a bit crazy to spend 42 years out of the 90 years he lived on this planet, 42 years inside either prison or psychiatric hospitals for the criminally insane. So I guess that was a little bit mad, but I'm not sure. How did he come to be called Mad Frankie? Well, there are various stories about that. One story is that when he was called up for national service, he pretended to be completely insane, and the authorities believed him and believed he was mad. Another story suggests that he got the nickname Mad Frankie because of a razor attack he made on another old-time London gangster called Jack Spot, leaving Jack Spot badly scarred. Then again, it might have been Charlie Richardson, he of the alleged torture gang, who once said, "Frankie Fraser, he's a madman." But Eddie, Charlie's brother, described him as a very gay man indeed, and that really is a little bit of an understatement because he was a very, very gay man. Came from Battersea in London, not from a criminal family, but got into trouble with the law very, very early on when he was quite young, and spent the rest of his life in and out of trouble with the authorities. A lot of very, very violent crime. As I say, 42 years in total. I mean, he got 5 years for the affray at the nightclub, Mr. Smith's in Catford, where a member of the Cray gang got shot dead, one of their cousins, Richard Hart. It was alleged that Mad Frankie was the one who pulled the trigger which killed Hart, but that was never ever proved, and that was not proved in court either. He got 10 years, of course, for his part in the Richardson torture trial at the Old Bailey, when it was alleged by one witness that Mad Frankie used a pair of gold pliers to extract the teeth of victims. We'll never know if that was true or not. But it was a lifetime of trouble in and out of prison. Inside prison, he was notorious. He attacked at least 2 prison governors. He attacked many, many prison warders. He was involved in fact, he was one of the ringleaders in the Parkhurst prison riots of 1969. It was said that he bit the ear off of a warder and flushed it down the toilet, and that poor warder in future years was always known to his colleagues as Ear Harry. Again, I'm not sure if that's true, but it does seem a little bit unkind. So he was constantly in trouble with Mad Frankie. He just couldn't help it. Now, I met him on several occasions. The first occasion we met at the Repton Boys Boxing Club in the East End of London. I was making a documentary on the Cray twins, Reggie and Ronnie, for Sky's Crime Channel, and it was arranged that I would do this interview with Mad Frankie Fraser in a boxing ring, both sat on chairs in the ring, and we'd have a chat, and it would be filmed. Now, before the interview, and I can see Frankie in the distance in a boxing ring, but before the interview, the camera crew, I'm not sure if they were winding me up or genuinely warning me, but they said to me, "You've got to be very careful here, Fred, because this is a very, very dangerous man indeed. If you upset this guy, he could attack you, he can bite your ear off." So, full of trepidation really, I'd gone into the ring with Mad Frankie Fraser, and I was astonished at how small he was. He was a little guy, 5'5", 5'6", a little guy, not very muscular, obviously wiry, but there was something about the eyes which told you that this was a very dangerous man indeed. He was a man, though, full of humour, great humour, very sharp, very bright, I thought. I said to him, "Why do they call you Mad Frankie?" He said, "Son, I've been in Broadmoor twice. They're not going to call me effing insane Frankie, are they?" He spoke about the Cray twins. I mean, the Crays wanted him to join their firm, but no, he said he was going to join Charlie Richardson and Eddie Richardson south of the River Thames because he said they were brighter. Charlie in particular was much more intelligent than the Cray twins. So indeed, he did join them. It was, though, a life of utter violence. Towards the end of his life, when he was about 89, he was in sheltered accommodation because, sadly, Alzheimer's had got to him. But even then, he managed to get into a fight with another resident, and he got an ASPO for his trouble. He spoke to me about the Cray twins when he went round to their dad's house in Valence Road on one occasion when the boys were quite young. He looked through the kitchen window, and the Cray twins were fighting, he said, and punching hell out of each other. And he thought one was going to kill the other. So man Frankie went out and split them up and stopped them from fighting. He was a man of great humour, a man of incredible stories. I met him later at a pub near his home. He was a bit older then, but still very, very funny, very interesting man indeed. But a man who could not resist violence all through his life. Why? I just don't know. He just loved fighting. He loved violence. But was Frankie Fraser mad? I don't know. You'll have to make up your own mind. I don't think he was. I think he was actually quite a bright, intelligent man who stupidly got into so much trouble and spent so much time behind bars. Well, as I say, that's the last of my talks about crime. I'm going to be moving now onto TV, how you start in television, how you can last as long as I have if you're lucky. That's nearly 60 years, the kind of things that have happened to me along the way, the people I've met, some funny stories, some sad stories. I'll tell you all about them, so please do join me, Fred Dinenage, next time you know how.